Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Simonsen. I am a fellow Bishop Montgomery Knight, class of 1983, and I'm happy to be here to talk to you today. I'm going to just talk a little bit about my career, about my life, and some things I picked up along the way. So hopefully you find it somewhat interesting and entertaining. So I grew up my whole life in the South Bay, and I went to St. James Grammar School. And when I graduated there in 1979, I came over to Bishop Montgomery. Actually, though, I did attend Bishop Montgomery as an eighth grader, riding my bike from home in the morning over to Bishop Montgomery, taking Algebra 1. And then after that class was over, 10 of us would ride our bikes over to St. James for the rest of the day. But anyways, I loved my time at Bishop Montgomery. Loved everything about it. Had a great time being a Knight. I played baseball, soccer, cross country, and just met so many great people in my class and in other classes too. I actually, some of my best friends that I still have today, Paul, John, and Phil, they were all in my wedding, and we used to just love hanging out. We would spend almost every weekend in the early 80s going up to Hollywood and going to the Sunset Strip and going to different clubs to see metal bands. That was when metal was just coming in the early 80s. So we'd see bands like Metallica and Rat and Motley Crue when they were small, just one album, just starting out. And we loved it. We did it almost every weekend. And here we are now, almost 40 years later, and we're still going to concerts together, still seeing hard rock metal bands. It's hard to get our schedules to align, but those are the kind of friendships that I built at Bishop Montgomery, and hopefully you've done the same. So after Bishop Montgomery, I ended up going to Loyola Marymount College for my first year. And things didn't work out financially there, so I ended up transferring over to Cal State Dominguez Hills and decided I would major in accounting. Now, I made that decision because of a class I took at Bishop Montgomery. Mr. Alfieri was my accounting teacher. And I took that as a senior, as an elective, because I was good at math. And I saw in the newspaper, yes, the newspaper, there was no internet back then. So look in the newspaper and I see tons of ads for finance people and accounting people paying pretty good salaries. And so I said, well, I'm going to take this accounting class to see what it's like. And I really liked it. And Mr. Alfieri was a great teacher. So I decided, well, I'm going to focus on that for my college career. So really liked Cal State Dominguez Hills, small classes. I had a great group of friends there. We all studied together and I was able to get my classes really easily. And so I went to school there. I was working. I was a cook at Marie Callender's. I was a waiter. I was always working along with going to school. And then my senior year, I decided, look, I better start building up my resume. So I took a job with a company in Gardena that manufactured fertilizer and some other things, working for their chief financial officer, and I did purchasing and accounting and all sorts of different things, and got me some really good experience. And they actually loved me and wanted me to take a job there when I graduated college, but it was a small firm and I had much bigger plans. So my senior year, I was pretty fortunate in that there was a shortage of accounting students that were graduating from universities in Southern California. So the big 8 accounting firms were expanding their recruitment efforts, and they came to Cal State Dominguez Hills for the very first time. So me and all my friends interviewed with a bunch of different firms, and lucky for me, I got offered a job with a firm called Ernst & Winnie, now called Ernst & Young, and I got a starting salary of $18,000, and I got my job in November, but I didn't start until July after I graduated. So it worked out perfect for me. I studied for the CPA exam during my senior year, also worked and also took 18 units. So that was a pretty busy time for me. So I started my job at Ernst & Winnie in downtown LA. I was driving all over Southern California, working on clients, and did that for about 4 years. And around that time, I had gotten married and I started having a family pretty early. And I got offered a job with a 40% pay increase in Irvine. and money was tight. And I thought, well, you know what, this is a good opportunity, a good jumping off point. So I decided to go for that, and it worked out great. And then when my second daughter was born, uh, I was commuting from Torrance to Irvine for 2 years, and finally made the decision, look, let's try to scrape together whatever money we can and buy a house out in the boonies of Orange County. So we did that, and then had my third son, and my wife stopped working. So money was super, super tight. I mean, really tight. And after about 7 years at that job, I got offered a great opportunity to work at AAA, the Auto Club, with another nice 30% pay increase. So great company. And I said, look, this is something I should do. So went to AAA and started as the accounting manager. 3 years later, got promoted to vice president, had another son, our last one, fourth child. And then 5 years later, in 2005, became the chief financial officer of the entire organization. I had 500 people reporting to me, $3 billion company. So I figured, hey, I had made it, right? But I hated my job. I like some of the people I worked with, but and I was making over $500,000 a year in salary and bonuses, but the way I was treated, I was not appreciated. The leadership was terrible. I just hated the culture there. And every day I'd go to work and I'd be stressed out. I'd be working insane hours. It just wasn't worth it. My kids were growing up and I wanted more time with them. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do, actually. And so I prayed a lot. And for months and months, I was just trying to figure out, what's the next thing that I'm going to do? Show me a sign, Lord. And sure enough, one day I got this letter on my desk saying a nonprofit in Orange County needed a chief financial officer. And I said, okay, this letter got here for a reason. I'm going to look into this. I'd never heard of Orangewood Foundation. Didn't know much about foster youth, which is the mission of our organization, but said, I'm going to check this out. And so I went and interviewed. I really liked all the people I talked to, but they just couldn't believe I was there. Why am I here from this humongous company to come work for this small $7 million nonprofit? And of course, they couldn't pay me anything close to what I was making. But I said, look, I'm here for a reason. I think this is where I belong. I love what you're doing. I need some balance in my life. So give me a chance. And so they took a chance on me. I took a chance on them. I took a 70% pay cut and took the job. And that was in 2007. And I'll tell you, it was the best decision I ever made. I love my job. I'm still there. It's been there 13 and a half years. And I really felt like I could help them a lot. And it just got my whole life back in balance. So I was the chief financial officer there for 6 years. And then our CEO left. So they asked me if I wanted the job. They promoted me. And now I've been the CEO for 7 years. And like I said, I just love every minute of it. And one of the big things for me is just being a good leader, because I didn't experience that at AAA. And being a leader isn't about a title. Being a leader is about inspiring people and supporting people. And my job is really to get my team all the resources and support they need to serve our youth. We have youth that are homeless. We have youth that are being trafficked. We have foster youth that are struggling, and they need help and they need our support and they need our organization. So my job really is to make sure that the resources are there for my team to do their job and kind of stay out of their way. So that's what I really focus on. So my career was going great, but my personal life, now I needed to get that straightened out. Once again, I wasn't happy. I had been married 27 years and things had been going downhill for many years. I was trying to put some effort in to fix that, but I just didn't feel like my spouse at the time was working on it as hard as I was. And so I wanted to be happy. I didn't want to be in that situation for the next 35 years of my life. So I ended up making a very tough decision to leave, and figured, well, at some point, God would provide me with somebody for the rest of my life. And sure enough, he sent an angel down to me. Her name is Kelly. I met her at an Orangewood event, actually. And we've been together now over 5 years, and we're getting married here in August. So super excited about that. She's kind and wonderful, thoughtful person, and just truly appreciates me and loves me dearly. So I couldn't be happier. So what have I learned in my 55 years? Well, I'll give you a few things. First of all, don't shy away from hard work. Nothing comes easy. And, there were many times, like I said, my senior year of college, 18 units, a job, studying for the CPA exam, driving up to USC 2 nights a week for 4-hour prep classes. You have to work hard to get where you want to get to, whatever that path is. Don't complain. You have the power to chart your own course. Don't wait around for other people to fix things for you or to get things done for you. Just take it upon yourself and do that. Don't settle. You have one life to live. Live it the way you want, not the way others want, and just do what you want to do. Focus on your physical and mental health. If you don't have those two things long term, and trust me, from someone my age who's seen my classmates pass away or coworkers pass away, if you don't have your health, both physical and mental, you have nothing. And you aren't going to be able to enjoy your life. So focus on that. Take your time. Don't be in a rush to be an adult. You don't have to rush to get married, have kids, all those things. Take your time and enjoy your young adult life. Travel, see things, explore, be adventurous. Give back to those that are less fortunate. That doesn't mean you have to make big monetary donations. You can give your time, your talents. There's lots of ways that you can volunteer and just help those that are less fortunate. Don't waste your time with negative people. Unhappy people just drain you. They're not worth it. There are so many people out there that are nice, friendly, perfect people for you to hang out with. It's amazing how much energy people put into trying to make a negative relationship work instead of just focusing on the positive relationships they have. Focus their attention and time on that. Be grateful for all the gifts God has bestowed upon you. I'm grateful every day. People that don't appreciate one another, appreciate the things they have, that's not the kind of life you want to live. I work with young people every day that have nothing. They don't have a place to sleep. They come to us for food, for clothes. And you know what? They don't complain. They are grateful that Orangewood Foundation is there, that we are there, that we care about them, that we help them, and that we're trying to get them on a better path. So don't forget about all those wonderful things that God has given you. And lastly, be kind always. There's no room in this world to not be kind. Right now, there's a lot of tension in our country, and just be kind to one another. Like the golden rule, treat others like you want to be treated, or treat others like they want to be treated. It's not that tough. So some of you sent me some questions that you wanted me to answer, so I'll take those right now. The first one was, what was a meaningful experience that you had at Orangewood Foundation that has had a lasting impact on you? So I think, there's been so many, but one in particular is a youth of ours. His name was Angel, and he was in foster care, but his last year of high school, he turned 18 and he ended up having to sleep in a park because he was homeless. And he started coming to our drop-in resource center every day to get food, to talk to our staff, to get support. And this went on for a couple of years. And during that time, he encountered some drug use and addiction issues. And he was the sweetest, nicest guy you'd ever meet. And just really liked talking with him. And he was always very pleasant to our staff. But then something went sideways, and he started causing some problems in our resource center. So actually he was banned, which we very rarely do, for 6 months. During that time, he kind of reevaluated himself, and his sister talked to him as well. And he decided, you know what, I gotta get clean. I gotta start getting on the right path. So with the help of our staff, he went into a sober living home, and we walked through that path with him his whole first year. He would hit his 90-day milestone, his 6-month milestone. He would come into the resource center. He just looked like a totally different person, full of energy, smiling, excited all the time, so grateful for everything we were doing for him. And ultimately, he now is running a Papa John's pizza place down in San Diego. He bought his own car. He's got his own place to live. He's just doing extremely well. And still, he comes by when he's up in Orange County, and just love seeing him. He's just such a great human being. And, I think it just taught me that people just need someone to be there for them, to support them, to care about them, to give them second chances, to guide them along and not give up on them. That's one thing, we pride ourselves on, and our staff do a great job of. We don't give up on our youth. They're going to make mistakes. And, I just, that story of Angel and just getting to know him and being friends with him for all these years, he's just one of my favorite youth that we've ever worked with and that I've worked with and gotten to know, and just so proud of him. Okay, so then the next question, charting your course of happiness can be risky. What motivated or encouraged me to make some big changes in my life? And I think this one's pretty simple, actually. Yeah, change is hard. Change is risky. You don't know about the unknown. But for me, it's all about being happy. And I just had to really look inside myself and say, is this job making me happy? That was the first big decision I made, which when I came to Orangewood. And the answer was no. And it was very clear once I boiled it all down. And, the only thing that was making me happy was the great money I was making. And what I've learned from working with youth that have nothing, I mean, nothing, is you can be happy if you have no material possessions. Material possessions aren't going to make you happy. What makes you happy is who you're with, what you do on a daily basis, self-fulfillment. It's not about the things you have or where you live or what car you drive. And so I knew I needed to make a change. And then years later, I did the same type of evaluation of my personal life and my relationship I had with my wife, and came to the same conclusion that I wasn't happy. I'd given it my best effort. We had tried to make it work, and it wasn't getting better. And I didn't like what I saw for the next 30 years, what my life might be like. So once again, it was all for me about being happy, and feeling good about the life that I was living. Okay. What advice would you give to someone who is working towards a goal that might seem far away? This one I think is pretty easy as well. When you look at some big goal or big project, it can seem daunting. And really, you just have to break it down into bite-sized goals. That's what we do with our youth at Orangewood too. If they want to get their college degree, for example, but they don't even have their high school diploma, well, first you got to work on getting the diploma, getting their GED. Then maybe you start them off one class at community college. Then try to grow that the next semester, maybe 2 or 3 classes. So I think the key is you've got to celebrate those incremental small victories and break down your big project into small goals. And then it'll seem more achievable, and you can celebrate those once you complete them, and then you'll see progress towards that bigger goal. So I hope you've had a few things that you've picked out of my speech that you might remember. And I really appreciate your time, and go Knights.